for a reality show.
Okay, hi guys. So now we're up on Mr. Sci-Fi, by the way, Adam.
Oh, great.
Okay, great.
Okay.
I'll get logged in on there, but yeah, there it is.
Mm-hmm.
So so I'm being considered for a reality show.
Great.
That's a kind of like a dating show.
Wow.
But with an AI robot.
Wow.
That's
Yes,
funny.
a sex bot.
Yeah.
Great.
Not exactly like that, but yeah. So that's going to be interesting. I had the interview yesterday,
Wow.
and they liked me, so we'll see where we go from there. But
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. Oh, how
there's
exciting.
compensation, and
There better be.
yeah.
Yes, for Queen and Country. That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds
That's
great.
fun.
Wow.
So yeah,
When will
that's
you hear
good.
it? What's the next step?
And I helped a friend of mine with an audition today
Cool.
over Zoom.
Wow.
Okay.
I did I was his reader
Great.
over Zoom, and then he had a separate camera filming himself.
Wow.
So, which is what I like to do sometimes when I have auditions, self-tape auditions. I like to do.
Good.
It's nice to have someone in person there, but it's also perfectly fine to just have a computer set up.
Great. That's cool.
If you have the know-how.
Yes.
To do that. Yeah, and then my podcast has come back. Inside Animation, our first episode of season 2 came out on Monday.
Wow.
So that is now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Verbal, which is a new thing, VURBL.
Uh-huh.
And basically wherever you listen to podcasts, you can find. I think we're even on iHeartRadio
Great.
as well.
Wow. That's great.
So Inside Animation, yeah. And if you are in the animation industry or know someone in the animation industry, I'm going to put the direct email to send me information if you're interested in being a guest. I always need guests for the show. And I mean, I'm not only looking for illustrators or animators or even voiceover artists. Anyone that has anything to do with the animation industry, sound. If you're a janitor at Nickelodeon,
Cool.
I'll have you on as.
If you want to talk about Believe in Santa, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that too.
Okay, cool.
All right.
Okay.
I think that's it for me. Yeah.
Okay,
Yay,
Adam,
all
good
right.
job. So, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet?
Let's see. I mean, we're just getting started here.
Yeah.
So,
Sorry, I'm a few minutes late, guys.
Scott Baker, Mark Lungo, they're all.
The gang's all
and
here.
Galinda is both here
Yes.
with us and watching Mr. Sci-Fi.
Yeah. Wow. So how about we do Dave Edison, Mr. Dave?
Well, hi there.
Hello.
Happy New Year, one and all.
Happy New Year!
Here we go again.
Yay!
Another chance to get it right. So, just like we did last time.
Yes.
Got it right. So I'm working on Space Command. I just exported a bunch of shots for the VFX team
Great.
for the 3rd episode of Space Command.
Yay!
So we'll be working on that as we rush to get the first 2 episodes, the 2-hour pilot, out to you, and work
Cool.
with David Bartlett on some of that today. And so moving along. I'm Dave Edison. I'm an editor, aside from Space Command, other things as well. And before that, I guess technically I'm still a SAG-AFTRA. I've been
Cool.
SAG-AFTRA since 1988 or 89. And it's probably on my card. I could probably look it up. And let's see. Actually, I had, some of you might not know this, but I had a long time acting job. I was an actor in a particular event. It wasn't broadcast, but a particular event that ran for 18 years. Some of you might know about that. I won't say exactly what it is, but I'll put it in the chat.
Cool.
Those of you are on Zoom. So it's like signing in on Watch My Live.
Great.
I'll put it on the chat. Which reminds me, I'm working on my game show pitch. I think it'll be a big hit. It's called I've Got a Secretion.
Yes.
So, show of hands, who's old enough to understand that reference?
That's gonna be a hit on the Borscht Belt circuit.
I'll bet. Anyway, so we're just keeping busy, and if I think of anything else, you're the first people I'll let know.
Okay. Yay. Yes. I was thinking of another name for a game show that would fit with that one, Dave. I think Premature Emasculation would be very good.
Oh, hey, there you go. Yeah.
Anybody want to be on that show?
No.
There you go. There you go. But so getting back to you for a second, Adam.
Yeah.
So do you have to sleep with the android, or what's the? I mean, I don't know if you have an NDA or anything, but it's just like, so you get.
Not a whack.
I will live with it.
Wow.
Like,
Oh my God.
I don't know if I don't know if I has to be in my bed or anything, but
Yeah.
I do live with it, and they'll check in with me
Wow.
from time to time.
Wow.
Whoa.
Wow. Well,
Within a 3-month period.
They will check in with you 24/7. Look into its eyes. Look into
yes,
its
yes,
eyes.
yes, yes.
Well, I mean, the camera crew will check in with me every
Mhm.
once in a while, but
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. There's so many jokes I could do right now, but I will not.
My brother already gave.
Yes.
Oh, my brother already did so many.
Yes.
We don't have that kind of time.
No.
Yeah.
No. But okay, cool. So, Dave, was there anything else you needed?
We don't have that kind of time. I'm fine.
Okay, 3 cheers. Yay, Dave Edison. So, is there a Mr. Sci-Fi question yet, Adam?
Yes. Our first 2022
Wow.
is from Mark Lungo, and it is: what question would you like to be asked about Space Command that no one has ever asked?
Wow. That's an interesting question, Mark. I mean, I think all the questions that I've wanted to have asked have been asked. I mean, the main thing now is just, the fascinating journey of starting to really ramp up to where we're shooting a lot of episodes in a very short period of time. I've been buying up a whole bunch of set pieces from Ender's Game and Falling Skies and Passengers and on and on. And now we're about ready to rock and roll. It's going to be really, really cool, and I can't wait. So let's see. So now I guess, Ethan, I guess you're next on my screen if you'd like to take your turn.
Oh, well, thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Appreciate it. It's been a long time since I've been to a table. It's been so long. In fact, last time I was at the table, we were all sitting together at a restaurant.
Yes.
So that's how long it's been. Miss everybody. Really, I watch Mark's videos constantly. I really enjoy them.
Thanks.
And I saw one yesterday that really resonated with me and inspired me to come today, which was your video about why television writing isn't good as it used to be, and the anti-hero. I just thought
Yes.
that was so articulately and succinct, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm
Good.
like in line with a lot of what I've been thinking lately about this business, especially in the world of cinema. And I really just want to start asking questions, and I really want to have conversations with people. So I'm trying to find people now to have conversations with. I'm a producer myself. I work at Paramount Plus right now.
Cool.
And I've worked in cable documentary, but not in narrative. And I'd like to learn a lot more about that world because I've always been interested in it.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not here to be negative, and that's not the point of what I'm trying to do today. But I am not happy with how the business is being run, and I'm sure I'm not alone. And I'm not here to complain about it. I'm actually hoping that I could be part of a solution.
Great.
And I'm wanting to learn a lot more so that I could be part of the solution.
Great.
And figure out what the real problems are.
Great. Well, there's some things that can.
That's a huge ball of wax to unwrap.
No.
And we couldn't possibly do today, but I'm interested in talking with people, whoever would be willing to talk to me.
Sure.
And and it doesn't have to be public. It could be just private. And then, and if they are willing to talk on camera eventually, that would be awesome too.
Great. Well, the thing I was going to say was, first of all, when you mentioned you're interested in getting into narrative, do you have a sense of what kind of narrative you want to get into? What genre or story area?
I am interested only in features,
Okay.
2-hour format, and that's what my focus will be on as far as the is cinema and the entertainment business. Is my concerns are with 2-hour feature cinema.
And do you want to just produce, or do you want to write or direct as well?
I have a script written that I will eventually do. I'm pretty happy with it. But right now, I have some ideas on film finance and stuff like that. And so right now, I'm really just trying to figure out what's working right now in 2022. What's not working. And get a lot of I've been doing research like a madman. I've read almost every trade magazine on the issue, but it's a little different than actually talking to people. So I want to take it to the next level and actually talk to people and get some unfiltered thoughts, you know, that I could collect and try to get a picture of what people think is happening. Because I mean, I would just say that it feels like that ton of money is being spent on some movies, and almost none is being spent on a lot of movies. And there's no in between anymore.
It's true.
Even the quality of the big movies isn't very particularly good as far as the writing, and then you have the small movies made by some incredibly brilliant and talented people that no one will ever see.
Right. Yes. Well, that's why there's another medium that you might consider, which is called television, because that's where all the mid-budget and mid-range things are going. And also you can work on a larger canvas, and it reaches a larger audience. So because it goes in directly to people's houses, that's why I always chose television as my medium of choice rather than films, even though I've been hired on assignment to write films. Well, there's a book I have coming out in the next few months from my publisher called Greenlighting Yourself. And I think that book could be very useful to you. Because it really talks about what you're talking about, which is what's working now, what's not. There's a new model emerging. Things are in great flux, but you mustn't try to win a game you can't win. And right now, with the monopolization of visual media, one has to really play a very smart game. And it's very possible to, because the other thing that's happened at the same time is the democratization of worldwide media, to where anyone can have their own channel, anyone can reach everyone around the world, and that gives one power and reach and access that one did not have before. So so there's a lot of, but another big thing, by the way, one of my most important things I can advise is, whenever you want to do something, think about who has accomplished what I want to do and how can I learn from them. Because throughout my life, I've chosen mentors who had accomplished what I wanted to accomplish, and I learned directly from them, whether it was Ray Bradbury or Guillermo del Toro or any of the showrunners I've befriended. You know, it's enormously helpful when you, so reading the trades is only marginally helpful, because it doesn't tell you how to do stuff. It just tells you sort of what's happening. But unless you have entree, it's useless. You know, I mean, for instance, worrying about what you would do if you were making a $200 million movie is pointless, you know. And but there are a lot of ways that one can make stuff happen. The most important thing is to think of yourself as a content creator, and then the question becomes, well, there are three questions. How can I make my content? How can I put a promotable element into it so people will pay attention to it? And then how do I get it out to the audience that will be interested in this? Now, one great source of amazing scripts that no one ever thinks of is if you made a list of which writers have won the Oscar for best screenwriting in the last 20 to 25 years, you'll be surprised at how many of them no longer have representation, and they all have scripts in a drawer that no one is doing anything with. So if you reached out to your favorite screenwriters from like 15, 20 years ago, and just said, I'm a producer, I'm working with Paramount Plus, I'm very interested in reading anything you might have in a drawer, you'll find a script that you could option for like $10. That would be amazing. And the fact that you then have a script from an Oscar winner gives you a promotable element. So it's just one way of doing it.
It's really interesting.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said.
Oh, good.
100%. And but there's that little thing that it's not everything is about practicality or rationality or
Yes.
the most direct way. I have this problem where I'm extremely passionate about cinema and the 2-hour format.
Yes, and that's fine. That's fine because again, I wrote a book with Guillermo del Toro, and Guillermo, his favorite form is film. He's doing TV series now, but film is definitely where his heart lives. And I mean, absolutely. But then make it as easy as possible for yourself to make something, because that's what starts the whole ball rolling. You make what you want to see, and then you find people who are of like sentiment, and that's how you start to build an audience.
Right. Okay. But I'm definitely more interested in also the form,
Mhm.
even more than my own work.
Yes.
In any way that I can help everyone be able to do this and get exposure.
Mhm.
So I feel there's a solution to this. Like you're saying, you can't force a round peg in a square hole, but
Sure you can. You absolutely can if you're just determined enough.
Yeah. So I kind of think that a lot of people's heart is in this format, and I think, and I could argue all day with you why I think it's far superior than television, even great television.
Mm-hmm.
But really, I want to, I feel like this is an art form that still has legs.
Mm-hmm.
More than, like you could say theater has been going on for thousands of years, and maybe theater isn't as big as it used to be.
Yeah.
But there's theaters all over the place.
Sure.
I feel that cinema still has even more legs than theater does today.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's not over yet.
Right.
I don't think that it's just going to be the age of great television and then cinema is just going to fade away.
No.
I feel there is a real future here, and we just need to find a better way to do it, because it's a winner takes all model. I don't think is beneficial to anyone, even the studios.
No, I agree. So, well, great. Anything else, Ethan?
No, that's it for now.
Okay.
I might reach out to you later.
Great.
At some point.
Cool. Yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. Great. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Not another question, but we do have our first super chat of
Yay.
2022.
Thank you, Greg.
From Gregory Cruz,
Yes.
who says, your first super chat of 2022.
That's great. That's great. That's
Thank
great.
you.
Well, thank you, and we'll spend that money wisely. So, so great. So yeah, and okay, great. So let's see.
What's a super chat? Yeah, for those of you watching on Mr. Sci-Fi who don't know what a super chat is, there's a little $sign next to it, right in the chat box where you would chat, and if you click on that, that'll you can donate any amount to Mark Zicree and the Mr. Sci-Fi channel there, and what that does is that gets you priority. Like if you're buried under a bunch of questions and you want your question answered now,
Yes,
do a super chat, and that'll get you right up to the top.
Great.
And you'll be the very next question that I ask.
Cool.
Or even if it's not a question, you will be acknowledged.
That's great.
Now, if it's profanity or something, we're not going to say that. But
No. So
if it's tasteful and warranted, we'll mention it, and thank you for your contribution.
Great. Yay. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
So Thane, I guess you're next on my screen.
Here we go.
There.
Hi, I'm Thane Allison, SAG-AFTRA character actor. I've had 2 auditions since the first of the year, and I've got 2 more to get going here.
Great.
I was interested in what Adam said about filming and zooming at the same time. Since I live at the end of the world, it seems finding another actor who wants to be anywhere in my vicinity is pretty hard. so I've learned to use Zoom, and typically I use my Canon 7D camera to actually record the audition, which allows me to see the person I'm working with on the computer screen and record a fairly high density audition on the card in the camera. Recently, Canon came out with a app or software fix or something, whatever you want to call it, that allows you to use your 7D as a webcam. So that you then have the ability to focus and frame and do some things with the 7D that you can't do with typical webcams or what's built into your laptop, which in general I'm not particularly interested in, because like I said, I save it on the card in the camera. But I discovered yesterday that not only can I use the 7D as a webcam, but I can also record at the same time in the camera my side of the conversation, which is convenient because we're in the process of putting together a feature film that will be primarily shot via Zoom. And this will allow me to give to the editor a much higher quality piece of film than what we could read from the Zoom call. It's always a learning process to try and figure out what you can do and how these things interface. And so that was my lesson of the week, playing around with it and discovering how to make it work.
Great.
Meanwhile, I tantalized Dave last night with a 5-second video. I recently purchased for a friend of mine looks like a flying saucer disc about 12 inches in diameter that dispenses medications. You can set it up so up to 5 medications a day, and you program it so you can only get access to the medication that's due at the time. And when it's time for the person to take their meds, it blinks lights and sounds an alarm, and also connects to my cell phone, so I can have a record that they actually took the pill, although it's easy enough to look in the pill in the box and see whether they actually took the pill or not. So we call it the flying saucer because it sure looks like a flying saucer. And I asked Dave if he could use it in some way for a prop, and he thought I was giving it to him. And I can't take it away from the little old lady from Pasadena that has the pill dispenser. So we could certainly borrow it for a day and film it for whatever use it might be. And so I've been dreaming up some scenarios we might do with that on my side. And since it blinks green, I assume I have to do it with a blue screen rather than a green screen to put the background in at the proper time. And then David assures me that there's a way to take out any strings or whatever it would be that we would be flying it around in front of the screen. So never stop learning is my mantra. And meanwhile, this film that we're going to be doing on Zoom, I've written a scene and got some suggestions from the producer and updated that, got that off to the other actor and the producer this afternoon. So staying busy, out of mischief.
Great.
I'm pretty much back in lockdown mode with the current variant. I learned that one of my friends of 60 years, a guy I trained with in the Peace Corps, passed away from COVID.
Oh, dear.
Just before Christmas.
Oh.
And also my son, who kind of lives in Grand Central Station with twin sons, their girlfriends, the kid that's always there, and three of the five youngsters work in a chicken wing restaurant, serving customers and so on. So even being careful with that much traffic in the house, I guess he got it. But he's the only one of the. I don't know how many people live there. They come and go, and it's something less than a fraternity house, but closer to chaos than I would be used to with me and the cat. So anyway, so it's onward. We'll see what the new year brings. I've been reading emails all day long that this show and that show has been canceled, and take out a few more old guys for misbehaving in the past, and maybe there will be a role for me, because that's to my recollection, I haven't misbehaved, but I'm sure that there is somebody out there who will counter that notion. So anyway, onward and upward, and we'll take this next trip around the sun and see what we get.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. Thank you, Thane. Thanks a lot. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a question an actual question this time from Gregory Prue.
Great. Thanks, Greg.
Who asks, do you remember the first episode of Twilight Zone that you ever saw?
I do.
How old were you at the time?
Yes, I do indeed. I was 8 years old. And my mom had married a guy named Ray Longacre, who was my stepdad at the time. And he was a Baptist from the Midwest. And we lived in an apartment that was over several garages. And so the top apartment, our unit, was one single unit. It was almost like a house. But we had one of the 3 garages that was our garage. And Ray was sort of a handyman, tinker kind of guy. And so up on a high shelf, he had 2 televisions, one of which got just sound and the other which got picture. And I was up past my bedtime, must have been like around 10 something at night. And I looked up at the TV that only got picture, because frequently these would be turned to different channels, which is in itself a very Twilight Zone-y experience. And I saw these guys land in a sort of a flying saucer and leave the flying saucer in spacesuits and enter a crashed version of their saucer, where they saw their own dead bodies. And at the time, I didn't know it was Twilight Zone. I didn't know it was a great hour-long episode called Death Ship. I didn't know it was written by Richard Matheson. I didn't know that 2 of those 3 guys were Ross Martin and Jack Klugman. The other one was Frederick Beer. But it was astonishing to me. It was wonderful. This is before Star Trek. It'd be a couple years before Star Trek debuted. And so it was quite remarkable. And but that was the first episode of Twilight Zone I ever saw. And then the second episode I saw was the following year. My mom was visiting some friends of hers in Whittier, and they had the TV on, and it was an episode called The Long Morrow that starred Marriott Hartley and Robert Lansing as he plays an astronaut who's cryogenically frozen for a lengthy mission. And again, it was like I found it really spellbinding. I think by then I might have known it was Twilight Zone. I don't know, but what I really became familiar with Twilight Zone was after when it finished its network run. It aired in syndication 5 days a week at 3 in the afternoon. And so I lived around the corner from my school. So I would, go home after school and I could watch Twilight Zone. And so that was how I really came to know the show. But those were cut down by several minutes. So there are many episodes where I never saw them in their entirety. And there was a number of episodes that either were never aired or were not in syndication. So it was many years before I saw all of the episodes.
So you had to wait till you got that fantastic Blu-ray set,
which I produced. Yes, exactly. So, but that was how Twilight Zone first came into my life, and as many of you know, it's never left. So, and I'm very grateful for that. So great. So I guess David Bartlett, if you'd like to take your turn and go from there, that'd be great.
Sure. Excuse me, David Bartlett. I am a filmmaker, a teacher, and a human rights activist, and a producer on Space Command.
Yay!
So my career started at 10 years old in a barn in Beaverton, Oregon, which I very recently saw in person again. And Elaine, I have to go back and handle some situations dealing with my father's passing. And Elaine has made a great suggestion, which is well, she's not there, too bad. Go around and film these little spots that I shot my very first movie in when I was 10. So I'm going to do that. So I was involved with a lot of theater in high school, and I managed movie theaters and was a projectionist until about I was 21 when I moved to LA. And I went to the Sherwood Oaks Experimental College, run by the late, great Gary Shusett, who we love. And he was an amazing guy. He managed to find all sorts of industry professionals to teach seminars. So the classes that I took in filmmaking were not from a film school, they were from his school. And my acting teachers were, Jacqueline Bissett, Sally Field, Brad Davis from Midnight Express, and George C. Scott.
Cool.
And my teacher, excuse me, of directing was Robert Wise. He allowed me to be on a set as an intern. And I was there with the presence of the director and producer of The Sound of Music and West Side Story and The Day the Earth Stood Still, and the editor of Citizen Kane, not bad. And he gave me my first advice, which was awesome. So I always try to tell stories but that you haven't heard before, which I have one. But I also then left that environment more or less, although I kept going back to the school to take seminars. I started working low-budget non-union films and films like Galaxy of Terror with a production designer, Jim Cameron. I was building sets with him, and that was with Roger Corman and New World Studios. And that film, for some reason, has gotten attention on Facebook, and it's out there. You can get it on DVD. I don't know if I recommend it, but you can get it and see some sets I built. But Roger was famous for taking the same sets and writing 3 or 4 movies around the same sets and just dressing them a little differently. And so he made 3 different films on the corridor sets of Galaxy of Terror. And really, they were very good sets, and the people involved were very enthusiastic and excited to make the best they could. And Jim certainly was. He was really extremely talented, obviously, but he could draw sketches of anything, and we would take those, and there were no plans or no measurements of things and stuff. He'd give us a sketch, and then we would go build a set. And it was very exciting. So then I started working in big budget movies in the sound department, and I worked on Speed and Total Recall and Pulp Fiction and Tremors and a lot of films. And let's see, I then started working on independent films, and I was doing films with friends and of my own. Now I have 68 film festival awards.
Great.
And I got a Primetime Emmy nomination on my first sound editing job, and that was exciting. A TV series called Space with Gary Hamlin as the star and Beau Bridges. And then I also did more recently a feature that I produced with James Kinnear, who we got an Emmy nomination for that.
Great.
So that was very exciting. That was only just recently. So that's kind of my, somewhere along the line, I joined the table 27 years ago or something, whatever it was, when we were at IHOP, which was a long time ago. I always gets the Tom Cassis and Howard Benjamin roll their eyes when I mention IHOP. So they were there for that. I didn't dislike IHOP. I thought it was cool.
No, it was fun.
I thought the group was awesome, and it was a bunch of writers mostly at the time, and I was really great energy. So I came back about 6 or 7 years ago, and I hooked up with Space Command. So now I'm producing on the Space Command and at head of physical production. I built a couple of studios. I was certainly not alone, but I've been kind of in charge of this world and producing visual effects and doing crowdfunding fulfillment and all sorts of things. Adam's been very important on the crowdfunding front recently. we've got our list of the physical crowdfunding perks that we have to deliver to people that we actually can deliver down to, I think, or really one. That the other ones have now on that list have been packed up and are ready to go.
That's great.
There's about 5 that have to be put in the car and moved out there.
Cool.
To our guy that does the shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the story I have is about the Sherwood Oaks College. I was there and I was working. I was a projectionist before, as I said, but I also was a technician. I used to repair things, projectors, and help install Dolby units in Oregon. So Gary got donated one projector. Now you have 2 projectors in the booth because the film is 20 minutes long, and you have to switch over from this machine to the other machine and run the next 20 minutes. You go back and forth, and that's how the films were played for many years, up until even into the 80s. So someone gave him one projector, which meant you had to run the film for 20 minutes and stop and take it off and put another reel up and keep going, which was tedious, but it would work. Well, it didn't have everything functioning, so me and another guy put it together, and Gary gave me a bunch of classes. And one of them was a cinematography class, one of the greatest teachers I've ever had. His name was Peter Gibbons, and he had helped develop the Cinerama camera and helped shoot How the West Was Won. And he built the Disney 360 Circle Vision camera, which was you would stand in a Disneyland ride, holding onto a railing, and there were giant screens all the way around up above you, and it would play a film that was shot with 6 cameras showing the entire circle of your vision, circle vision, and you would then have the camera would go like this, back and forth, or go past the UN. You have to hang on because it really disoriented you. It was like the very first sort of what became Star Tours later kind of ride, and he designed this camera and shot it. So I took camera classes from him. And he had 2 very interesting things I'll pass on to you to say. He knew how to go the right gradient with the students he had. He didn't want to go past them. So he said, okay, he drew a cross-section of a camera lens with all the elements that were concave and convex alternately. You guys have probably seen something like it. He had 2 of those. One was 7 elements and one was 9 elements. And he says, okay, this is what these are. And he starts saying words. I've never heard these words. And we're all just sort of like eyes rolling on our head. He said, how many people understood what I said? And no one raised their hand. He said, okay, we're not doing that. And he took this globe map and pulled it down in front of the chalkboard. He said, what do you guys want to learn? And everybody said, lighting, lighting, lighting. There were 4 or 5 cinematographers, and most of the rest of us were directors or producers. He said, okay, well, let's start with a color wheel. So the 3 primary colors are red, green, and blue. And I was like, sorry, I thought the 3 primary colors were red, yellow, and blue. And he says, that's for paint. That's for pigment. The 3 primary colors of light are red, green, and blue. And my whole head was like, wow, okay. He says, so the 3 secondary colors are yellow, magenta, and cyan. And they're opposite the 2 colors that blend together. And that's what makes those. And he says, you light with the secondary colors. And again, my whole head would explode. I was like, this is incredible. Those 2 concepts, I've used them all the time now with color temperature and film sensitivity and the HD cameras and the 4K cameras. They all work on the same principle of those 6 colors and how they blend with each other across the color wheel. So I tip my hat to him and to Gary for giving me that little bit of education. I hope it helps you guys. But if you start with that, with color, you will be well off on the right foot to go on to all the next levels of things.
Great.
Someday I might learn what a 9-element and 7-element lens function is, but it's not very important to me, frankly.
No.
So that's it. Now, Space Command. Space Command is an environment that welcomes people to participate. You can come and help. Right now, you can help building sets. You can help painting. You can help shipping things to people. With Adam, he needs help a little bit. We're actually almost done with that part, but we still have some things to do. Anyway, that's building the sets for shoots that are upcoming. Another couple of weeks or 3 weeks, we're going to do a shoot, and we have a lot of LED lighting to be done. We have a guy that does that, but he's on a weekends only schedule right now. So if you have any experience with that sort of thing, I would welcome the help. There are other things that can be done too, and organizing the studio in ways that will make it even more efficient is part of what I'm doing very soon, and all of that. So I will put my email in the address line here. It is davefilms, DAVEFILMS @hotmail.com. And I will also, that's for Mr. Sci-Fi people. So while you guys are on here, on Mr. Sci-Fi, you have an opportunity to help out with Space Command, where the people that are from the table are the only ones I really give this to normally. This is a good idea for you guys to get involved. This is your chance. the next thing I'm going to talk about is the table email. So if you are not on the table email and need to get on there, you can also shoot me an email, and I will help you get that done. Your name and first and last name have to be in the email. Like mine had to become davidbartlett@gmail.com. I couldn't use Dave Films, which is my actual email, because it's not my first and last name. So that's what you need to do. Give me a first and last name with something that's not Yahoo. It can be numbers or symbols or whatever, but it has to be that so we can recognize who you are easily, and I'll get you set up. So my email again is davefilms, DAVEFILMS @hotmail.com, and I'll put it in the chat here. And then let me know, and welcome.
Great.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. Thank you, David. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
There we go. Yes,
Yeah.
there is. Finish this. I'm also putting Dave's email in the chat on this side.
Mhm.
You guys are looking for that. It's right there. Our next question is another Gregory Krug question.
Okay.
He asks, when you worked on a show like Pole Position, would you watch Speed Racer to see what worked and what didn't, or would you avoid that kind of influence?
I didn't watch other shows for inspiration in that way. What I did, because I wrote, I think, half of the episodes of that show, and Michael Reeves wrote the other half, I set goals for myself that would interest me. So, for instance, every title of an episode that I wrote for Pole Position was a play on a Hitchcock title. So there was The Chicken That Knew Too Much, things like that. Dial M for something or other, whatever it was, mystery, or anyway, it doesn't matter. But it was, and then also I would come up with plots that were different from each other and that were entertaining to me, and jokes that were entertaining to me. And so, and I knew that if I came up with something funny or whatever, if I couldn't fit it in one script, I would be able to fit in another episode of Pole Position, because I was writing so many of them. And so that's what I did. But I would never, Speed Racer was such a different show. It was a Japanese show, and it had a completely different style of animation and way of being animated, that it really wouldn't have helped in terms of what we were doing. In a way, Pole Position was much more a child of Knight Rider than anything else, because a lot of cartoons back then were ripoffs one way or another of successful live action TV shows. So, for instance, the Flintstones was a ripoff of the Honeymooners. Pole Position would be derivative of Knight Rider. Real Ghostbusters, of course, wasn't a ripoff. It was actually, a sequel to. But when they couldn't license a property, they would just kind of, create something similar. And but like, for instance, the Littles were based on a series of books, but they were also derivative of the Smurfs, and so forth. So, but regardless of what the source material was, my goal was always to do things that were original and quality and meaningful to myself. Now, one thing that's just been sent to me that I'll be putting on Mr. Sci-Fi very soon is, back in 1980, I did an interview on a radio show called Hour 25 that was a science fiction interview show on KPFK. And so we're talking 42 years ago, and I talked specifically about writing for animation, which I was doing at that point. So it'll be very interesting, first of all, for me to listen to it, but secondly, I'll share it with my Mr. Sci-Fi friends. And it's funny, because that wasn't my first appearance on that show. My first appearance on that show was when I was 18. I wrote, directed, and produced and starred in a sort of a fireside theater kind of thing called Lobotomy, half-hour radio play that was a parody of science fiction conventions and TV shows and movies and writers. And so that aired, I think, around 1975 or 76, and I think 75, and then it aired again 10 years later for the 10th anniversary of it. So pretty fun stuff. So here's Elaine back. Yay. There you go. So yay. 3 cheers. Elaine is back. So now next on my screen is, yes.
Mark, sorry. I forgot to say one thing. We also pay people.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
We have paid jobs. You can come in and do a paid job, and especially the paid job I'm looking for now is a carpenter.
Yes.
So if
Yes.
you're a carpenter, you know a carpenter, I would love to talk to you and have you come down.
Yes.
So there you are.
And we'll talk later, David, about that because I have some information that might be of use. Okay, great. So next on my screen is Terence. So if you want to take your turn, Terence, that'd be great.
Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Terence Harderman, aka Devontae Rain, screen name. I've been acting for about 4 or 5 years now.
Great.
I haven't not SAG, I'm not after anything like that, but I've done a ton of independent films.
Great.
A couple in Las Vegas, several in Florida. And when the pandemic started, I had to, as a creative, switch gears, and I started writing. And it's been taken off one by one. I have a sci-fi one, I have a drama, I have so many right now. And I spoke to a friend of mine, Mary Thompson, and she got me in touch with you guys to learn and soak in all the information that you guys are giving right now. And my mind is blown. Thank you. I appreciate it, you guys.
Sure.
I'm here to learn. I am a sponge.
Good.
It's not too much at one time. I am older, so
Yes.
my brain might fall out. You're old, so
Yes.
be gentle with me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely in the sci-fi. Dave, you brought one of my favorite sci-fi movies out into the open again, Galaxy of Terror. I was a little kid when I saw it, and it's been on my mind all these years. I tell people about it all the time, and they're like, "What are you talking about? I never heard of it." I was like, "You gotta find it. Trust me. When you find it, you'll understand."
That's fun. So,
yes.
So,
Mary Thompson is a very old friend of mine. We go back to the Beverly Hills Playhouse together, and she recommended that he come and join us.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. Well, several things to know then. The table has been running for 29 years. Elena and I started it. It's thousands of members around the world. The email list is very important because you can send one email out to all several thousand people. We're eventually going to be resuming back weekly at a restaurant at Patty's in Studio City, but the pandemic's not quite over enough yet, and so it's in the near future we'll be doing it. And but we started the Zoom meetings when the pandemic socked us in.
So
and
we just need a techie person to
be able to do the Zoom call while
while
we do the in-person.
Yes.
But in terms of writing, obviously, I mean, the reason we started the table was so that people could have a compassionate and supportive community in Hollywood. And by Hollywood, I mean all the entertainment pursuits around the world. So this is a safe place to ask questions, to find out how things really work. There's never a charge. There's no membership fee. When we meet at a restaurant, all we ask is that people order food, but that's how it works. And some people come once to an in-person meeting, and Zoom qualifies as an in-person meeting. We ask people to come to one meeting to get the vibe, which is, authentic and supportive and genuine. But once they do that, they can come every week, or they can come never, and still utilize the email list and all that stuff. So so there you go. Did you have any questions about writing or about how to sell scripts or any of that stuff?
I'm still new again. I have a couple copyrighted already.
Good.
I'm on the fence. I don't think I want to sell them. I want to, like Ethan said, produce them, make them into movies. Because I feel what I have, the world needs to see.
Cool.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like my sci-fi one, I feel in my brain, and a few people that I've talked to, and they say, I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm like, score. Okay.
Yes.
We're about to do a sizzle reel for it.
Good.
So I'm really excited about that.
Cool.
And then just get stuff out there and get it produced, and so people can see it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, here's several things I'll recommend in that regard. Don't wait until you can have someone give you $100 million to make a movie. Make it with whatever you've got. Make it as best you can. Start. Get stuff out into the world. Get stuff where people can see it, and that can lead to things, lead to opportunities. Additionally, I would say, don't feel that anything is impossible, because now with visual effects and with grade school kids learning them, you can build a team from people all around the world who want to do what you want to do. And so just find the people who actually have talent and who have a work ethic and who do what they say they're going to do and deliver when they say they're going to deliver. Beyond that, gravitate toward people who are doing the work that you love. And a great place to meet those people is science fiction conventions. And they're starting to have them again in person. Comic-Con, both San Diego and Los Angeles Comic-Con. There's a great convention in Las Vegas for Star Trek fans. I highly recommend it. And the actors and the writers go there. And you can meet these people, and they can become friends and mentors, and then, ultimately you can live in their house and raid their wine cellars and so forth, drive their Maseratis. But
it's great that you've got a sizzle reel going.
Yes.
Because when I first put up a website, and I'm not very clever in those directions, I had a lot of help.
Yes.
I was surprised at how many people I sent to the website to see the sizzle reel, and
yes,
and anybody who had any kind of expertise or heat that was attached to the project would be up there.
Yes.
And there'd be like promo stuff about how important it would be to today's audiences, and so and bits of music and just anything that you can throw at it.
Right.
It really, anything that makes it feel like the train is moving.
Yes.
Right.
I found it really advantageous to have that up there.
Right. And your job as a creator is to bring things from your head out into the world so everyone can see it.
Yes.
That's the point. And you work in film and TV, those are mass media. Millions of people see your work if you do it right. And there's nothing like it. And if you do it well, people are watching it long after you did it, decades after you did it, and beyond your own lifetime. Many of my mentors, their work has lasted beyond their lives, and I have, as I mentioned, I've got work that I did when I was in my early 20s that people are still watching and loving, and that's great, And so yeah, there's a lot you can learn here at the table, and feel free to ask any question at any time.
Sounds good. I appreciate it, you guys.
Great. Well,
Thank you.
Good to meet you. Yay. So,
Thank you.
Also for those who are new to the table, when we do these Zoom meetings, we do a simulcast with my YouTube channel, which is called Mr. Sci-Fi. And if you're into science fiction, checking out Mr. Sci-Fi on YouTube is a really good idea, and subscribing to it, because I've written for so many iconic series, and Elaine and I both, and there's always something interesting and new there to check out. So, okay, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. And also, Terence, if you want to do table reads for any of your scripts, the table is a great resource for that. You just send an email to the table once you get on the table email.
Right.
And people will come out of the woodwork to do either a in-person or a virtual Zoom table read.
Yes, for free.
If you need it.
For free.
If you need a virtual one, I can help you set that up.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, the purpose of the table is for people to help each other. No one is ever required to help anyone, but people are encouraged to do so. So, and that's why the table isn't just writers. It's writers, directors, actors, producers, sound guys, editors, everyone, people. Novelists, everyone, and music people. I mean, it's everyone across the board, because that's how we get stuff made and so forth. So, but welcome. Three cheers. Yes. So, Adam.
So, our question is from, and I hope I get this right, Kumisho Metoa.
Yes.
I hope I pronounced that right. They ask, Mr. Sci-Fi, when writing a script for an episode, how many drafts would you go through before you felt happy with what you came up with, especially early on in your career?
Partially, it depends on the deadline. In television, when you're on assignment, you've got a week or 2 weeks at most to write a script and deliver it. And then you'll get notes. You'll maybe have a few days to do the revision, a week if you're lucky. And then they shoot it, they make it. I mean, 95% of what I've written has been made. And so you don't get to write and write and write and write. You have to develop those muscles where you can really, really nail it and go. That's why outlining in television is so important, because the outline has to be nailed down. You do not have time to go down blind alleys. That doesn't mean you can't deviate from the outline if you find a spark while you're writing that leads somewhere productive, but it means that you have to have the bones of it going in. On the other hand, there's other scripts I've written that have taken years and many, many, many drafts, 15, 20 drafts. And qualitatively, whether I've written it fast or whether it's taken a long time, you can't tell from reading it or watching it whether it was fast or slow, because the trick is to write quality no matter what you're doing. And sometimes lightning strikes and sometimes it doesn't, but you always bring your A game no matter what. And whether it's a Smurfs script or Star Trek: The Next Generation or Babylon 5 or Space Command, we all, it's all the same in terms of the job, in terms of you never say, oh, this is a lesser thing, so I'm going to do a lesser job. No, you always bring everything you've got to it and try and find meaning in the story that you can convey to people that will be meaningful to them because it's profoundly true and you're coming at it with an honest heart. So that's the answer to that. And but the great part is that, having come up through television and having been a professional writer since I was 19, Elaine and I both have these TV muscles, so we can multitask. We can write very quickly if we need to, and we can write for specific actors. We're very good at actors' voice, and Elaine's a wonderful director, of course, and I just ride on her coattails, and it's great. It's really terrific. We really enjoy it, but I'm really glad that I spent all those decades working those muscles, because then a lot of stuff is just second nature. I don't agonize over it. I just kind of get on with it, which is great. So okay, so let's see, next on my screen.
We lost Savvy. So before we lose anyone else, I would ask, I know Carol's next, right? But if there's anyone who needs to leave early, let us know now. And we'll we'll make sure you get your turn.
Right.
Don't just like
go
wait
yeah.
and then leave.
Right, exactly.
If you really need to leave early, let us know.
Yeah,
we're happy to move you up.
Yes, and if you're in another time zone, or if you're in some other country, I mean, yeah, absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So just yeah. So but next on my screen is Carol. So Carol, if you want to take your turn.
Thank you. Healthy 2022, everyone. Does anybody have to go before me? If you do, just feel free. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm wearing two pairs of my 99-cent glasses. That's my trademark. I guess I'm on here mostly as actress. I'm very available to do table reads. I did a great one for an acting company in San Diego called Script Teasers a couple of weeks ago, and someone from there called me and wants me to be in her already funded
oh my God.
I know, script. And listen, the last time I did was drive to San Diego to be in a show, but still she wants me to be in her table read. And it is so adorable. This part is Hungarian Gypsy Fortune Teller.
Oh my gosh.
So adorable. So it's perfect for my wiles. So yeah, it's going to be next Friday night. I'm not going to invite you because no one wants to come. But yeah, I'll let you know how it goes. I'm excited. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. Let's see. This is the third time in 4 months a manager has tried to get a hold of me for my writing. Who charges?
Oh Jesus.
Oh my God.
That's bad.
Charges initially. This is the third time. What do I have on my forehead? Yes, this is the third time. And, and it's interesting because as I was talking to her last night already, was it? She hedged when I said, I just felt it. She didn't say anything. I said, you charge up front. There's a whole movement now. I said, you charge up front to pitch stuff, don't you? And she went, pause. Yes. No.
That's not. I mean, an agent or a manager should take a percentage of what they sell, not charge up front. Period.
Third time someone's done this to me in about 4 months.
Well, if they represent themselves as agents, you can report them. Managers is more loosey goosey, and of course, producer is a catch-all phrase, and so that's
But they tend to have, in my agent experience, there are these scams that go around.
Yes.
That they're not calling it scams.
No.
It's sort of like, well, let us sell your movie. We'll package it for you so that there'll be, anyone will buy it. You just have to give us a whole bunch of money to package it, and there's no guarantee.
See, here's the problem. There's an enormous industry devoted to getting money from hopefuls in the industry. People who are hopeful, actors, writers, directors, producers, people who don't have entree. And it basically is a enormous number of people who are draining the money from these people, but not actually accomplishing much, if anything.
It's especially prominent in the voiceover industry
Yes.
as well.
Wow.
Yes. Now, there's a much smaller number of people who are doing all the movies and TV shows. Okay, it's the agents who are representing the writers and the actors and the directors and producers who are actually making the films and TV shows, the real deal. And those people, you know, they don't need to charge up front because they're making a very good living representing clients who are getting work.
But I'm sure it's not you. It's like these things come in waves.
Yes.
And like the
Right.
well, package was all over town. You know, just this incredible scam. You know, you never. They're supposed to pay you, you know, to take your film out. You don't need them to package it so they can sell it with no guarantees. So I assume that it's not you, but that there's a new wave of people who are representing themselves as managers to just get money from, you know, writers and actors. That's the new wave of bogus.
One of these ladies does have a track record. That's what's confusing, but I still don't want to go with her.
Oh, no.
I'm going to tell you her name, but it's, you know, it's confusing. I'm still not going to go with her. But that was a few months ago. But yeah, I know she has a track record, so I don't know. Maybe she takes 20 people in and gets one thing through. If you do enough of them, you have a little IMDb there. So, but yeah, yes. Let's see where. Oh, this is just funny, Adam. When you talk about your robot, your new girlfriend bot. When I did a movie in New York called American Tickler. And I watched one actor, walk into the scene, into the set, and I hear that he's making love on the set. But it's like there was no chick followed him. I said, "What was it?" So I walked in, I snuck in, and I saw what was going on. And he's in the bed, and his back is to me, and he's going, "Brenda." He was over a blow-up doll, and Brenda was losing her hair.
That's funny.
Just think of Adam's new robot girlfriend. And
yes. Yes.
All the types of inanimate objects we can be in love with. Who knows?
Yes.
Luckily, this one isn't a blow-up one. So it's
well, yeah.
Made of some thicker stuff.
Well, Jesus. But yeah, exactly. All right, I will say the joke that occurred to me earlier. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase lube job.
I won't tell my mother that one.
Yeah.
Well, also be a little careful if somebody has some success for somebody else, to call that somebody else and say, how much do they have to do with you actually getting that role?
Right. There's a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, here's the thing. Many people spend more time, energy, and money trying to break in, whereas if they just took the same amount of time, energy, and money actually making something, they would get much farther ahead. Because thanks to the internet, thanks to all of us having cameras in our pockets, thanks to being able to edit on a computer, you can reach a mass audience in a way that you never could before. And with Amazon, you can print books, you can do all sorts of stuff. And so it's just easier to do it that way, because it's an honest transaction.
But also, you know, when we see a match, we introduce people to people. You know, it's risky because they could blow up in your face. But when we really see a match, we introduce people to people. We never have a handout. And if we did have a handout, that would mean we were the kind of people who sold our friends, right? So you don't want to even know those people.
No, it's so friggin' icky.
Yeah.
But I mean, whatever. I mean, as an actress in New York, I picked that one up. I never even went there. I don't know why this whole arena seems to be so arduous. It's just so hard. Just one other fun aside is that my horror film looks really good.
Oh, good.
Great.
I got back from Office Depot last week or something, and it looks real. I'm really excited about it.
Great.
Just as a fun aside, The Way We Were was on TV again last night. It's always on TV. I love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I never could figure out why Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford couldn't get it together.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, last night I said, come on, Carol, you can figure this out. And I finally did. Because he was jealous of her energy and her passion and her intelligence. And he couldn't get on top of that.
Yes.
And I was so glad to try to finally figure it out, because for years I've been besought with that.
Yes.
But if you ever see it again, you'll see that he couldn't handle that she was more vital than he was on the planet. He was sort of receded, who was lucky. She was real out there. She called herself a loudmouth New York Jew, but it wasn't really that.
Right. And for those who are younger, The Way We Were and Barbra Streisand and Robert Redford are all references to the 20th century. So that's why you might not have heard of them or know of them. So there you go. So okay, cool. So anything else, Carol?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes.
Great.
Our next question is from Bob Rich.
Great. Hi, Bob.
He says, Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Who are some screenwriters that are especially gifted at creating believable 3-dimensional characters that audiences care about?
That's an interesting question. Tony
Kushner.
Tony Kushner is great. He did Angels in America, and more recently he did Lincoln with Spielberg, and he recently did the new script of West Side Story for Spielberg, which I like very much. He's really good. Obviously, David Simon is great, but he's not a screenwriter. He's a TV writer. Beyond that,
how about William Goldman?
Yes, but he's dead now. And but Aaron's well, no, but I think he means living ones. Aaron Sorkin, I really liked the I Love Lucy movie. I was very surprised that I did. I thought it was terrific. And beyond that,
it had peppy dialogue.
It did, very peppy. And
a couple of miscast leads.
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that, Dave. I thought that's what I was going to think, but I really, really liked it. See, I'll tell you why I liked it very specifically, because when you watch I Love Lucy, she's such a scatterbrain, and Desi is just kind of like playing, Babalu and being, appalled at Lucy's antics. And you say to yourself, how did these two people manage to revolutionize television and build and run the studio that made Mission Impossible and Star Trek, as well as other things? How were they able to do that? These two people with these personalities. And then when you watch the movie, you see that those were roles they were playing, and they were very different from those roles. And then it's like, okay, now I understand. Now when I look at who they are, and the fact that Lucy Arnaz said this is she really got my mother, she nailed it. That's very telling. And so I was pleased. I was very pleased.
It was interesting that the blocking that Sorkin did. There's a moment where Fred and Ethel knock each other off a piano stool.
Yes.
We went and watched the actual episode after seeing the movie. And the Sorkin blocking is actually funnier.
That's funny. That's funny.
She just falls in the actual episode.
Yes. Well, the funny thing is that the thing that never occurs to, or at least never occurred to me when I was watching I Love Lucy, is that William Demarest and Vivian Vance are so terrific.
William Frawley.
Yes, sorry. William Frawley and Vivian Vance are so terrific together. It never occurs to you that he's like an old man and she's like a young woman. And I mean, it's like they match, they work. And that's really pretty amazing when you think about it. So,
but in some of the older films, you'll see some amazing connection with 12 Angry Men.
Reginald Rose.
With Reginald Rose, a number of his pieces.
Patty Chayefsky, of course.
Patty Chayefsky.
He did Network. And Marty.
And Marty, and one of my favorite, which is Grapes of Wrath.
Yes, that's based on the John Steinbeck novel. And and Tennessee Williams, I mean, Streetcar Named Desire is terrific. So there's a lot of really terrific writers. A little bit of research. I mean, it's useful to start noticing who writes movies. When you see a movie you really like, make a note of who wrote it. And sometimes you'll have to go online to do that, because the writing credits are usually at the beginning, not the end. And so it takes a little bit of desire, studiousness, but it's worth it. So let's see. Galinda, you're next on my screen.
Hello. I'm Yolanda. I'm from Texas. I am a fan with an upgrade and a lot of aspirations. We'll see what I manage to do.
Great.
It's been, oh man, I'm so tired. It's just been a pretty normal week, but I did get a message from my roommates today, and they want me to stay here with the cats another week because they both got sick as soon as they moved to the DFW area. Apparently there is a flu COVID running rampant in the Dallas-Fort Worth area right now. And I guess Richie Taylor got premature emasculation. I thought, yeah, this is you take the mask off a little too soon and go out and play.
Yep.
And I make sure me and the cats are fine. It's quiet here, but I'm not dying or anything.
Good.
And,
Good.
And it lets me procrastinate a little bit more. On your suggestion, I went and hunted down Evening Primrose, the musical.
Oh, good.
I found it on YouTube. Apparently, the only copy that exists is black and white, which it wasn't originally, but it didn't. That did not damage Anthony Perkins in a horror musical about mannequins.
Yeah, amazing.
It's awesome.
Yes.
And and I can see how it would have influenced or could have been influenced by other other things. There was a little bit of a Sterling flair there that I felt. Yes. But that was glorious. That was my big fun deal for the week, though, is I did manage to find it, and it was exactly what I hoped it would be. And I don't have anything new. They're just say I'm in my holding pattern right now. Once they get the cats out of here, and I can leave without worrying about the cats starving to death without me, then I can go and get started on my own stuff again.
Great, good.
There we go. I really appreciated your conversation with Ethan earlier. It's very awesome to hear more and more people who are striving for the positivity.
Yes.
And wondering, where did suddenly the anti-hero become the thing?
Yes. It's because it was a natural evolution. Writers wanted to push the envelope of what was acceptable in TV. They wanted to not just be to not have to write about one specific kind of character in one limited area of human experience. And so when HBO came to prominence, particularly HBO, the way they were luring showrunners to them, because they couldn't pay as much money as the networks, the broadcast networks, they said, we will give you a free hand. So people like Tom Fontana, who had been doing Homicide on the networks, would go over to HBO and do Oz, which was a lot grittier. And so through an evolution, and then The Sopranos, David Chase did The Sopranos on HBO. And so what started to happen was you started to get these anti-heroes as hit shows. And Breaking Bad was another one of them. But the problem was that because television by nature is imitative, when those shows were successful, everyone jumped in the pool, and all of a sudden you've got all these shows about loathsome characters who are succeeding. And I found this, reprehensible, particularly because many of those showrunners are people I know, and they're living good lives, and they're responsible, and they have a work ethic, and they love their families, and they're writing characters who are the exact opposite of what they are. And that may or may not be wish fulfillment or some kind of vicarious fantasy, but I think it does a disservice to the audience, because I remember when television inspired us. I remember when a show like Twilight Zone or Star Trek would give you life lessons that you could take into your life and into the real world and make the world a better place. And I don't think we have to lecture people, but I do think we have to be true to our own lives, experience, and heart. And so I'm very glad that Elaine and I see eye to eye on that, and that what we're doing, the work we're doing, is that, because I don't want to write about loathsome characters I wouldn't want to know.
Yes. So the best teaching seems to be, in my experience, by example.
Yes.
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 So the more, and of course in this glorious age that I can set up my phone and pop a video up on YouTube right now and have people see it by tomorrow.
Yes.
There's really not a lot of excuse to not speak out and put positivity out there.
Yes, I agree.
And to help encourage other people to see it. We've got a generation who that's all they see, reality TV shows and anti-heroes.
Yes.
We had how many years without any Star Trek on television every week? And I still think that has helped to degrade the cultural thinking, because we
Yes.
didn't have those values there.
No, I agree.
And there were so few, so little television that was trying to follow the kind of values.
Yes.
So, now we can rebel, though. We have the tools. It's in our hands, in your pocket. Your phone can do anything for you just about now.
Yes,
And,
it's true.
So, yeah, I mean, that's where I wanted it. If y'all are ready to start a positive movement, well, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant, get up and walk out, because I'm ready to join whatever movement that can help.
Okay.
Help bring some healing to our Earth community.
Great. Okay.
Anyway, that's all. I just wanted to
Hey,
thank you so much.
thanks. And Happy New Year.
And you can always write reprehensible characters for your villains, for your antagonists.
Yes, and though interestingly enough, Elaine and I tend to write, our villains tend to not be just like crazy psychopaths. They tend to be people who have longings or emotional wounds. We get into their hearts and minds as well. They're not just stock characters, and that's a good thing too. I particularly like writing things where there's no villain per se. For instance, the first 2 hours of Space Command, there isn't a villain. They're just people in opposition to each other. They have contradictory goals.
Self-defining dreams is what the world is.
Yes.
And then they come into conflict. And if two people have self-defining dreams that are in conflict,
shit happens.
Shit happens.
Yeah. So, but now the other thing I want to mention is, for those who haven't seen this, many of you know that I lost my youngest brother, Sean, a few weeks ago to liver failure. He was waiting for a transplant. And I did a 40-minute tape remembering him in detail. And so it's on Mr. Sci-Fi. So if anyone hasn't seen that and would like to, he really came from a dark place and made a really meaningful life for himself and his family. So I'm glad I got to put that down for the record. So, and I'll have another very interesting video very, very soon that I think will knock people's socks off. So, okay, great. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, our next question is from Scott Gamble.
Hi, Scott.
And he says, when will the 30th anniversary of the table be? And any recollections from those first meetings?
Yes. Well, next year is the 30th anniversary, 2023, because we started in 1993. And
do you remember the date?
No, I don't remember the date, but it was so we can just have it be January 1st and off we go. But the thing that I do remember about the table was, we started in a restaurant called Hampton's on Highland in Hollywood. And initially the reason it was called the table is we met around a big wood table, a big round table. And it started with 6 people. And often it would only be me, because I had the idea of doing it every Thursday and having it be, because then people wouldn't have to remember which Thursday. If it was Thursday, we were on. And I wanted it. I wanted to keep the rules very simple. No membership fees. I didn't want it to be an organization. I wanted it to be a community. Things like that. And so, some weeks I would just come and it would just be me, but I would stay there, and I would know that if I stayed there, eventually it would grow, and it did, to thousands of people. But it was, there's always. But another one of the rules was, everyone was welcome if they came with a good heart. You didn't have to be famous. You didn't have to be, hugely successful. You could be just starting out. Everyone was welcome. There was no judgment of who was deserving, who had talent or didn't have talent. That's not for me to determine. And all I can do is provide the environment, and I could set the tone. And so that's what Elaine and I did. We set the tone. And it's been great. I mean, so many people have come to the table where it's become their social circle. It's become their inspiration. It's become many, many things. And people have helped each other. They've gotten movies made. They've gotten shorts made. They've gotten books written, all sorts of stuff. And it's grown and grown and grown and grown. And that's terrific. And, and the only thing that was required of us was just being consistent and being here. And that's what we've done. And I'm very grateful for the table existing, and I'm very glad that it's thrived. And and it's a changing beast. I mean, there are generations of tables members. So the first group is there for a while and consistent, and then some other people become the regulars, and some other people become the regulars, and then sometimes someone who was an early regular like Marty Elkin comes back, and people start to know who she is, and so forth. So it's fascinating. But the other rule of that we don't take attendance. There's no requirement to attend in person once you come to one meeting was also very good, because some people just kind of use the email and that's it, or they'll put out their needs on the email when they're crewing up or whatever. Other people come very regularly, like Dave comes all the time. You know, David Bartlett's here, Adam, you're here most of the time, etc. And so and Carol and Thane, you know, there's certain people become regulars, Bonnie. But you know, it's been very gratifying. I'm very glad that we've been doing it. And you know, so yeah, it's fun. It's fun to know what you stand for and have that be consistent in your life, in how you help others, in your work. I mean, it's very nice to have consistency. And yeah, so but that's all from Elaine, because I met Elaine when I was 20, and she bent me to her will like a bonsai tree. And you know, and I'm very grateful for that. So let's see. I guess, Arena, let's do you, because I know you're on the East Coast. So go for it.
Okay, I think I'm unmuted.
Yeah.
Well, Happy New Year,
Thank
Space
you.
Command team. Yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen you last time. You know, good to see also many familiar faces.
Yes.
Yep. So I've still been dealing with the medical stuff, you know, since the last time we talked. And in November, I had a medical procedure that backfired. So I ended up in the hospital, and now I'm dealing with the neurologists trying to figure out. It's like a chain reaction.
Jesus.
But meanwhile, I've been busy packaging my projects. You know, finally, more or less, have a hang of the business plans, marketing, distribution plans. You know, attaching the talent. You know, all the proper steps. And I just finished my first pitch deck for the Sci-Fi TV series that I've been developing for many years. So I was hoping, of course, you know, Mark and Elaine, I know you're very busy, if it would be possible to get your feedback, because you know it by heart, you know what works, what doesn't work, the proper way to do it or not.
Sure.
Yep. And I don't know, maybe I could email it to David and then just see what you think and what I can possibly make it better.
Sure. You bet.
And yeah, it deals, you know, with a lot of different subject matter, kind of a human nature, and kind of goes into the direction of quantum physics.
Cool.
So it's going to be the idea is every season I want to do kind of a reboot, you know. So obviously there will be an engine, but the story-wise, you know, I want the story do a complete 180, you know, every single season. It seems like now it's actually a good trend, the way modern shows have been written. I don't know if it's going to work or not, but that's the plan.
Great.
And I have a question, Mark. You've been with the Kickstarter from the very beginning.
Yes.
So you really know the platform and the system.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on them switching to the blockchain?
I really haven't followed that closely. I'm very if you're talking about cryptocurrency, is that what we're talking about in terms of blockchain?
Blockchain, isn't it? It's like some kind of a special, not a labeling system, but pretty much like they attach some kind of a code or something to art. For example, if you create art and such, it's supposed to protect you. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's very new.
I haven't
because they're gonna switch completely right to that system.
I haven't been following that, so I'll have to play catch up on that one. You know, I mean, there's so many. You know, what I try and do is I always try and find what works, and then I do that until it stops working, and then I try and find something else that works. You know, and I like to diversify. That's why I've always been in both books and television, because you know, when one is not necessarily clicking, the other one is. And also because my heroes wrote books and TV, both Rod Serling, Ray Bradbury, Harlan, Ellison, etc. So I don't know. I don't have an answer for that yet, but I'll find out. And then when I have an answer, I'll relate it.
Yeah, because I'm curious, you know, if this switch is going to have any kind of effect on Space Command.
I don't know.
You've been with them from the very start, yeah.
Yeah, but the good part is that when I was in New York, I had lunch with an executive from Kickstarter a couple of years ago, and we've kept in touch since. And now I have people who are actively on my side within that structure, and that's very helpful. And but again, I can't assume. You can't, it's like our job is to create content and put it out. And so the more content we create, the more content that's of quality and that people like, the more we can raise money. But so that's what we're focusing on now, getting the first 2 hours done and out, finishing the 4th hour so that we can release the 3rd and 4th hours, and so forth. So it's like, because Kickstarter, it's very interesting. They put a disclaimer on Kickstarter they didn't have originally, which is, be aware that any money you donate, you may not get what you order, because you are basically doing this to support someone in their dream, but there's no guarantee they will actually make what they're promising. Very interesting. I assume that came from a lot of people defaulting, and so I take what we promise very, very seriously, even though it's taken a long time. But that was very interesting to see that they had that disclaimer now. But I'll find out about blockchain and let you know what I think of it.
And was just wondering, how's it going with the Showrunners Network? I know, Elaine, you're developing a new show as well.
Yes,
right?
yes, she is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Elaine, it's going very well, but we're trying to get Space Command up and running on a regular production schedule. And then once that's up and running, we plan to build a secondary production unit that is a totally different approach. Space Command is always going to be very studio bound, very traditional in how the equipment we're using, the team we're using, but just smaller than a big TV show would have. But Sweet Haven, Rock Neil Bannon and I have always talked about doing it almost like shooting it with iPhones, or very, very fleet of foot, very guerrilla, and cinema verite. And we have to shoot some sample scenes of this to see if the idea works. But I'm very interested in that. I would love to have, every now and then you go to a park or somewhere and you see some student filmmakers where there's 3 people with an iPhone and a mic, and they're shooting a movie, and and someone has an iPhone that has a clapper board, on the iPhone, and it's like, wow, that's cool. And they don't tend to get shut down by cops saying, "Where's your permit?" Because it's just we're just shooting this for fun, or we're just students, whatever.
It totally works. Just before pandemic, I was one of the 2 camera people on a TV series. It was completely shot guerrilla style in New York City.
Wow.
And what we did, we used really simple Steadicam systems. You can get them on Amazon for $120. And they work beautifully because it's very easy to control them. They're semi-manual instead of those complex gadgets, and they're also very small. So what we did, we just put 2 iPhones on them.
Wow.
And we were just rolling. And I think the most efficient day that we had, it was incredible. We shot over 30 pages in one day.
Wow.
Multiple locations. And it was fun. No pressure. Actors were having fun. It was just flowing so beautifully.
Wow.
So yeah, I know it can be done, and it looks great. They got distribution and everything.
Wow, that's cool. I'd be very interested in finding out more about that. We should follow up with that. That'd be great.
Absolutely. I can send you some information.
Please do. Please
do.
do.
If you know the writer, director, producer behind this, she's been around.
Great.
So you probably, I'll send you the information about her, because if you need to just talk to her directly.
Yes, I would.
See how she designed the whole thing.
Yes.
Because we had a big cast.
Wow.
Crew was small, but the cast was huge.
Wow.
And she pulled it off.
That's great. Yes, I'd be very interested in finding out about that. So please send me the information. That'd be great. So anything else you need?
Nope. Just good to see you and catching up with you.
Yes, you too. There, yay. So is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Our next Mr. Sci-Fi question is from Knox5555.
Great.
Who hasn't commented in a while, so
cool.
Good to see them back.
Yeah.
They want to know, did you watch Legend of the Galactic Heroes?
No.
Which is a space anime.
No, I'm not that into anime. I mean, it's sort of like it's not that I don't like it. It's just that, you know, I'm busy, you know, so no, I haven't seen it, but you know, I try and keep abreast more or less about on live action science fiction shows, TV shows, and most of the major live action science fiction movies. And that's about, you know, I still fall behind. So, you know, because we're making stuff. So let's see who's next on this. Delton. I don't know if Delton's there. There you go. Go for it.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. It's always great to be here, and just great to hear you know, everyone's stories and like journey and everything. It's really good to you know, just a good encouragement, you know. So basically, author, writer, musician, and educator. And basically, I love working with kids, working in regards to music and exposing kids to language and culture through music. And Carol, is Carol speaking? Oh yeah, there you go, Carol. Yeah. Thank you. Actually referred me to Sylvia, and spoke with this lady named Sylvia, and gave me some really good insight in regards to just pushing my idea forward and some other different things to consider and think about. And so right now I'm in a process of putting one of my activity books on Amazon. And I'm going through Fiverr to look for, you know, possible illustrator, just in case, because I have the overarching thing is to create a animated TV series. And being that I don't have an animation out, it's like studio, like at my fingertips, but I do know a little bit about animation. So I figure, you know, let me do what I can with the resources I have. So my idea is to get an illustrator to do illustrations to create a children's book, because that's something that's fairly doable, because I have the content, have the script and everything to do the children's book, and also use those same illustrations to at least do an animatic at the very minimum. And in the process, still working on, you know, I have my pitch Bible ready, and to you know, to pitch to a network. So I guess my question would be like, I guess, you know, I'm looking through Kids Screen. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that. Kids Screen.
Nope.
It's a site, basically has like, you know, the different executives and for like Nickelodeon and Disney and things like that. So I'm going through there because I found out, I guess these different studios, they only accept pitches from either an agent or a literary advisor or something like that. So yeah, just learning about that process to at least get inside the room.
Yes, and also many of these places like Nickelodeon have fellowships, and applying to those fellowships can be a great way to break in. So writing fellowships, so that's something absolutely worth checking out. Additionally, one thing I didn't mention earlier but should is that anytime one creates a script, that's an intellectual property, and you can also do it as a graphic novel. You can do it as a radio drama. You can do it as you know, any number of or novel. You know, and so don't just assume that you can only market it in one way. If you know, it's not worth writing an entire novel to try to sell a script. But on the other hand, if one does exploit something in multiple media, that can help get an audience, get a fan base. So there is that to remember as well.
And I got your email, by the way. I'm gonna respond and we'll get you on the podcast.
Great.
Oh, good.
Cool.
Oh, good.
Cool. So
just
go ahead.
learning as much as I can.
Great. So anything else you need?
Oh no, I'm just sitting.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, just enjoy the atmosphere and the vibe, and constantly, you know, just learning.
Great. Well, terrific. 3 cheers. Yay. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have another question from Kumishu Mitoa, and they confirmed that I said it right.
Wow. Well done. Well done.
I know. It takes me back to reading names at graduation ceremonies when I was in college.
Yes.
So the question is, Speaking of villains, I heard you praising Neil Patrick Harris on his character in Matrix Resurrections.
Yes.
Please elaborate on that, because I felt it was a mismatch, i.e. not a regular bad guy.
I like Neil Patrick Harris. I think my favorite Neil Patrick Harris role of all time is in Starship Troopers. Where
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, he's just great in that. It's just, I guess I'm so used to very one-note villains in the Matrix, as good as they were in the first film, that having someone who's different and not just the same gag over and over again was fun. And if you view the whole idea of that film, that new one, to be the idea that in the artificial reality, people are there specifically to stop you from having an original thought or completing a thought process, who better than a therapist to guide you down the wrong road so that you never wonder if this is reality, if you're living a happy life, if there's something you should be doing differently, if you should take the red pill instead of the blue pill. So for me,
Spoiler alert?
No, but yes, but it's not a big spoiler if you've seen the trailers. But the point being that Neil Patrick Harris, I liked the character. I like the blue glasses frames. I thought it was interesting, and he still looks good, and he's an interesting guy. So 3 cheers. And also, by the way, I'm very much in favor of gay actors and actresses and gay people of all kinds being out and being accepted and not having it derail their careers like it would have in the 50s, 60s, etc. So the more we have people out there, and I think the fun thing about Neil Patrick Harris is he came out pretty early, and he's played straight characters and gay characters very credibly, and he's a very talented man. So there you go. So, okay, so let's see. Bonnie, you're next, Madam Vice President. Da, 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 da.
Yep.
Hail to the chief.
On New Year's Eve, I planned to come to Judith, and then we were going back and forth, and we were kind of afraid, and I meant to call her, and then Monday I wound up meeting with somebody, and they woke up with COVID the next morning.
Wow.
I'm fine right now, so we'll see.
Yes, well.
So Tuesday morning, they were very ill. Well, they had COVID and they tested positive.
Yes, yes.
Trying to keep Joel safe.
Yes, of course.
So, but other than that, things are going well at the union. And actually, there was an interview that I was taped in November, just before I became interim vice president at the union. And it's on this week. Marco Page, he was a child actor. He's the man that played Julia, the son.
Yes, you bet.
Well, TV show was called Julia.
Yes. Diane Carroll. Yeah.
I just forgot. Who am I thinking of?
Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
So he played
the kid,
the son.
Sure.
He got really lucky when he was 6 years old. His father actor, and the age that I have a part for your son. That's how he got into that. So he's doing some different things, but now he's doing a podcast, and he really asked great, thought-provoking questions. I thought really well. So
great.
He emailed now that's up online, so I can post that to the table email.
Cool.
And just keeping busy with the vice presidential duties, and I keep wanting to determine the next few days to get some proposing done. But
yes,
I think I'll get into that pattern now that I'm settling more into the vice presidential position.
Cool.
And January 24th is the election to serve the rest of the term that was vacated by someone. But it's going great. So that's it. And happy New Year all. And yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yay. 3 cheers, Bonnie. Okay. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yeah, actually, no, I think we're caught up.
Oh, no. Okay. So next on my screen is Michelle Hart.
Hey, Michelle.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, I'm unmuted. Well, let's see. I recently saw Don't Look Up, and if we're talking about people writing interesting characters, I think that was a real interesting vision of people. A number of them were sort of stereotypes, but they were done really well. And I am not, in general, a fan of Leonardo DiCaprio, but he was so different in this. I thought he did an absolutely stunning job. He plays a really nerdly kind of scientist.
Yes.
And
yes.
I think I was, 15 minutes into the film when I went, oh, that's DiCaprio.
Great. Great.
In something else. I was listening to you talk about the beginning of the table at Hamptons, and I used to go there all the time, and never connected with you at that point. But it's because this is like the epitome of if you build it, they will come.
Yes, it is.
Just kept going to the place and sitting there, like you said, if you were the only person, you were still there, and sooner or later they came. And they're, what you said, 30 years later, and
29. Yeah.
Yay!
Wow. Yeah.
I am recovered from COVID. I was recovered from it enough to show up at Judas,
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I have had both vaccinations and the booster.
Mm-hmm.
It was really filed under no big deal.
Wow.
It's something where, under normal circumstances, if there wasn't all this, pandemic flying around, I'd have never bothered to see a doctor or do anything medical about it. I'd have charged it off to being, kind of a weird little bit of something like a cold, and it went away.
Wow.
But there was no fever. There was no loss of sense of taste and smell, which is good because I ate everything that wasn't nailed down. And it was a little cough and a little scratchy throat, and it went. So
great.
Fear not. I bring glad tidings of not having a problem with COVID if you've got all your shots.
Great.
So that I am. Let's see. The first whisper of anything going on in terms of acting was about 2 hours ago. I got an inquiry from Central about whether I was available, and boy howdy, am I ever available. They asked if I had stand-in experience, and would I please enumerate what I had. And I know they're going to look at it and say she's lying, because I have done stand-in for Diane von Furstenberg, Carol Burnett, and Lady Kazan. These three people look nothing like me and nothing like each other. So, if they think I'm lying, I'll have to back it up somehow. But I actually did stand in for all three of them at various points.
Great.
So maybe there'll be some work, and maybe the new agent that Tom Katz has helped me get. Thank you, Tom. Another table person. And maybe that agent will actually do something helpful, and we'll see how the year goes.
Great. That's great.
And nobody tore the country apart on the 6th, so I guess we're going forward.
So far, so good. Yes. 3 cheers. Yay. Adam.
Stand-ins are, correct me if I'm wrong, but stand-ins are more about height and frame rather than looks, right?
Well, considering Diane von Furstenberg is 2 inches taller than I am, and apparently lives for suntan, when I talked to the person who cast me on that, they said, well, you're not quite as tall as she is. I said, oh, wear heels. As it turned out, 90% of what I was doing was sitting down. Carol Burnett came in flat shoes and is 2 inches shorter than I am.
Wow.
And Lady Kazan is very softic.
Yes, yes.
And I'm 108 pounds. So, I don't know how any of that worked, but it did, thank goodness. And it does pay better than background. And I'm really tired of not having lines to say. So, hopefully things will get better.
Great, great. Well, 3 cheers. Yay. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question? Nope.
I put out a little probe saying, hey, does anyone have any more questions?
Yeah, that's okay.
I guess not right now.
Okay, that's fine. That's
we can move on and
yes.
See if any pop up.
Okay, cool. So Akira, you're next on my screen. Go for it. Go for it.
Yes. Akira, please. Hello?
We can't hear you.
Yeah, your mic's not working. Are you using
me?
There we go.
Okay, there we go. Okay.
Good.
Finally. Okay.
Okay, good. Okay, so this is a Kira film composer and a guitarist and a Japanese language teacher. So I'm doing the guitar and the Japanese lesson online right now, and also keep on just composing mainly horror and the suspense kind of stuff. Yeah, and last year, I worked for the, Koshak's film produced by David Botret, and we had a screening in a film festival, right? Last December, and we meet, since it's been a long time, David, right? Next time, last time, it was really fun. Yes, and
So, Kira, you can also say that the film that I directed with Koshak was a comedy.
Yeah.
Kira does horror music, but when he put this worst, most scary horror music he had on the comedy, it was very funny.
That's fun.
So it had a whole new world for him.
Cool.
It was really fun.
That's great.
So what I'm doing is not much right now, but just as usual, teaching and composing and pitching. That's all. And COVID, I got the booster shot December 30, and it is said booster shot side effect is much easier than former one, but for me it was as heavy as the first ones, I could not eat. Totally, I could not eat on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. But after it's clear up, I'm fine. But for me, booster shot was a little bit heavy anyway.
Yeah. Well, good to see you.
Yeah,
But I'm glad you
all
took
about
it.
me. Just if you are okay, I will put my homepage address on the chatting board, and if you need some weird music, please, get in touch with me anytime.
Great. 3 cheers. Excellent. Good job. So another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes, we have a new Mr. Sci-Fi question.
Great.
We got a bunch now. Our next question is from Bob Rich.
Good. Hi, Bob.
Who asks, who are some actors for film or television that have been masters of improvisation, whether in drama or comedy?
Film or television who are masters of improvisation. Woof. Well, they did a lot of improv in Don't Look Up, and I like that film a lot. I think it's very accurate in terms of our world right now, and they ad-libbed a lot. Improv. Robin Williams, of course, yes, and but again, it's like it's catch as catch can. Some directors are very into kind of improv, or at least getting the
other guys.
The other guys is funny, of course, yes. Well, Adam McKay, it's the same director, but also in Independence Day, a lot of the best lines were ad-libbed by Will Smith and Jeff Goldblum, and what's his name, who played his father. So it was. So that was clever that they allowed. Usually what they do in that case is they'll record one version that's the script as written, and then they'll say to the actors, "Okay, now just riff on stuff," and they will, and if they're good at it. There's a lot of actors who
Bill Mumy tends to ad-lib a bit.
Yes.
He's told a story about I think it was Voyager or one of the Star Trek shows where he had to deal with a script supervisor who was saying, "You're going to do the line just like that." And they were very critical about keep writing down exactly what he was going to say.
Yes, and there are certain shows where they will say to the actors, "Do the script exactly as it's written." Joe Straczynski was very firm on that, and also I think on Star Trek: The Next Generation they were pretty firm on it. I don't. If a line needs to be a specific way because of something I'm setting up or whatever, I'll say to the actor, "This is why it needs to be said this way." But if an actor says I'm uncomfortable with this wording, or I can sell the moment without so many words, I'm always very open to listening to their thoughts, because you don't want to, you want it to seem natural, you want it to seem organic. And
Spencer Tracy was famous,
oh
as
yeah,
you probably know,
for cutting lines,
for cutting his own
of
lines.
his. But what Shatner would do, which is why so many of the people on Star Trek hated him, is he would take lines from other characters and make them his lines to keep the focus on him. So he would take George Takei's lines, he would take Spock lines, he would, I mean, he was just, you know, loathsome in that way. And you know, so there's that. So okay, so next on my screen is the fabulous Mark Gushwitz. So go for it, Mark.
Hi. I'll throw right into that question. If people for television, Ryan Stiles, there's no better improv. I saw him. People knew him from the Drew Carey Show and 2.5 Men, and of course, Whose Line Is It Anyways? Where I saw him go up against Robin Williams.
Wow.
And I thought he was better.
Wow.
And that's a lot to say because Robin Williams is my favorite comedian. That night, I thought Ryan Stiles really was better. Anyway, okay, so I probably shouldn't even be here tonight because I have a deadline of something tomorrow, and I'm kind of working on it while listening to everybody talk. It's been a nightmare week.
Oh dear.
It's one of those weeks of just last minutes. I need this, I need this, I need this. And by the way, it's all due tomorrow.
Huh. Wow. Now also,
so I'm probably not going to get any sleep tonight.
Yeah.
I've worked nothing on Space Command.
Well,
although
yeah.
Saturday and Sunday, I will probably devote half a Saturday after I sleep late, and then
Cool.
Sunday to it.
That's
Because I
fine.
saw that. Well, Mark's got notes. Evidently, he's going to be sending me. You've also sent me 2 intros. When I saw the first one, I was like, "Oh God, I'm so proud of him." It's only 46 seconds. And then I saw the second one at 4.5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Dave Edison, I'll be calling you for some B-roll.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
That's fine.
Just so you know, what he's talking about is Mark is doing work on the DVD extras.
Yes.
For
Space Command.
And Blu-ray extras.
Yes. And so that was one where we had as an extra the screen test that our actors did. But I wanted to talk about the worldwide talent search that we held that had 7,000 inquiries and 1,200 videos submitted, video auditions submitted for the 2 lead roles of Captain Kemmer and Cadet Bradbury, and how that went, because it was a remarkable experience. I'm very, very, very glad we did it, because it got us, you know, it got us Aaron Gaffey, it got us Ethan McDowell, it got us Brian McClure, it got us Sarah Marafino. So that was well worth the effort, because we were really blessed with a wonderful cast.
So I haven't heard it yet. So after I hear it, I'll reach out to David.
Sure.
For some footage.
Sure.
And he'll be like, really bothering me again? Actually, Dave's been really great through this whole process.
Well, let me just say it now. Really, you're bothering me again? Yeah, take care of it.
So, and I'm sifting through some more Comic-Cons. I'm finding a lot of the Comic-Cons are actually a lot of the same things.
Yes.
The most interesting thing I've run into so far actually came from David Bartlett talking about sound, and it's really, really good for people to look forward to that. Next week, because this deadline tomorrow should open up my world a little bit, not only a lot more hours on the Space Command thing, but I'll also be able to get back to my website. I've chosen Tuesdays as my day to do not bother me. I'm going to be in the library working on my reviews.
Cool.
Because I got to get that back up and ready to go. So that means, Mark, don't call me on Tuesday.
Okay.
And Michelle gave me an interesting title to check out. I haven't seen it yet, but it's a Peter O'Toole movie. I won't say anything more than that I've never heard of. And it's rocking like an 88% on Rotten Tomatoes. So I'm looking forward to watching that, and hopefully I like it. So we can
That's great.
talk about it.
Yeah.
And other than that, I'm just looking forward to tomorrow night when this project's done, and then sleeping late on Saturday, and you know, getting my life back to normal, I guess.
Cool.
Or as close to normal as it could possibly be.
Great. Well, that's great. So,
Michelle, I noticed Michelle has her hand raised. Did you want to comment?
Yeah, I wanted to say something about improv, and I don't know whether anybody at the beginning of this, because I did not come in at the beginning, whether anybody had said anything about Betty White.
Oh no!
Yeah.
If we want to see something about improv, poke around on YouTube and find Betty White getting the better of Joan Rivers.
Wow.
Oh,
How
wow.
fun.
In August, you wouldn't believe.
That's
She
fun.
just wiped her out.
Wow. Well, that's great. That's great.
Rivers was, I think, substituting for Carson. I'm not
Yeah.
sure he was leading somebody's nighttime show.
Wow, that's great. So
You're betting at it.
yeah, well, she was wonderful, and she didn't make it to 100, but my God, she certainly did a lot with the 99 years she had. So, I mean, I haven't heard anybody anywhere say they didn't like her. Everyone, right wing, left wing, everybody across the entire political spectrum. If there's one thing everyone seems to be able to agree on is we all love Betty White. You know, she was just wonderful in every way.
Now we all have to say our prayers for Norman Lear because he's either about to turn 100 or he already did.
Wow. Wow.
And you look at him, he looks like he's 75.
It's amazing. And yeah, one hat to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah. So good. That's great. So anything else, Mark? Anything else you need?
No, I don't think so. I'm sure there's plenty else, but because
Okay.
my mind is so fried from this gig, I
Yes.
think of what it is.
Okay. Yay. 3 cheers. Good job. So Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes, our next Mr. Sci-Fi question is a Scott Campbell question.
Okay. Hi, Scott.
He says, would you compare contrast Star Trek, the original series, with Deep Space Nine?
Sure.
How do you feel about assertions that DS9 was more interesting character-wise?
Well, Star Trek, he's asking me to compare the original Star Trek series with DS9, correct? Well, Star Trek, the original series, was such a groundbreaker and so unlike anything that had gone before that it just blows everything else out of the water. You can't compare the original with the later iterations because the original, it's amazing when you watch that first episode, The Man Trap, the first episode that aired, or either of the 2 pilots, both of which are great. They just drop you in the deep end. I mean, you're on the Enterprise and they don't ever say, this is how the engines work. This is what a transporter is. I mean, or a phaser. They just do it and you have to play catch up and figure out how it all works. And it's a wonderful show and I loved it and it made me who I am. God knows. Came out when I was 10. I love the original Star Trek. I just watched Where No Man Has Gone Before, which is the second Star Trek pilot, which starred the first one to star William Shatner. Amazing stuff. In terms of DS9, I thought Ira Behr was a terrific showrunner, and I like it enormously more than Voyager or Enterprise because I think that Rick Rick Berman and Brandon Braga were kind of burnt out by the time they were working on those shows. And it showed, whereas Ira wanted to really do something fairly revolutionary with DS9. I haven't watched all the DS9 episodes, so I really can't, just like I haven't watched all the Babylon 5 episodes, so I can't really comment on the show as a whole. I can say that for instance, Babylon 5 influenced DS9 in terms of having arcing characters as the show went on. But the fact they did Far Beyond the Stars, which I came up with, was just astonishing. I mean, phenomenal courage and brilliantly executed, and it is more relevant today than it was when they made that episode. I love Armin Shimmerman. Nana Visitor was great. So much of that cast were just so solid, and so I think it really stands the test of time. And the original Star Trek, I think, is wonderful. The only thing that's really funny about the original Star Trek, and when people talk about the cheesy visual effects, they were not cheesy when that show debuted in '66. They were cutting edge, and I still love them. The one thing that is funny is because Star Trek, when it aired, you were watching it on like maybe a 12-inch screen or a 19-inch screen if you really had a big TV, and you couldn't stop it, you couldn't pause it, you couldn't slow it, you couldn't go back and watch it again. So when those fight scenes happen, if you're watching that on a 55-inch or a 65-inch screen, suddenly you'll notice that all the major stunts are being done by guys who look nothing like the actors who they're supposed to be doubling for, and it's embarrassing. But that's because this was for a different time and a different way of watching television, and back then that worked, and now of course it doesn't. But that's not their fault because they didn't know what was going to be coming. But I think both are great in their way. But I think Star Trek is really, just like 2001 is iconic and a game changer, Star Trek for television was that thing. And you wouldn't have Battlestar Galactica, either version, without Star Trek. You wouldn't have all the shows that have come afterwards that have been great. We're all children of Star Trek in one way or another, those of us who make science fiction, and grateful for it. So okay, so Don Balderramos, you're up.
Hey,
Go for it,
Don.
Don.
First, I have to start with unmuting. Hello.
Hello.
Everybody. And yeah, Don Balderramos, starred Space Command actor, Captain Farkle. And I'm proud to say I got pinned yesterday for a co-star in a series.
Wow.
So that was really cool. Been working hard to get that. I was this last year. I did 5 auditions, 5 different characters. Didn't book them, but was called back 5 times for Nazi action. I mean, they were good full scenes, guest star and co. For hunters. With having to do the German accent and sometimes Austrian accent, and and one of them even singing, which was pretty funny. I had a nice meeting today with Delton Davis, who responded to my comments on the story I was writing that I wrote intended for animation many years ago, and he was very helpful and wanted to. I know he's not on right now, but I know I welcome him to the table. He met Mark and Elaine, I guess, a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Yeah, and really nice guy, and he has his project he's doing, and I think in terms of acting, because we have to do so much technology in iMovie, I'm hoping maybe I could talk to Dave at some point if he doesn't mind me calling. It shouldn't take too long. I don't want to have to take up time now, but I need to figure out when I'm editing and I'm on the timeline and I have my clip in, say, 2 or 3 different clips from on the project. Now I want to get them off the timeline for a second. And I know there's a way to put them somewhere so that I don't have to download them onto my desktop and then have to re-upload them. And which is, for me, it's complicated right now because I don't know how to do it. So, Dave, if you don't mind if I maybe give you a quick call at some point.
Oh, no problem. I don't know iMovie though.
Oh, okay.
I know a little. I'm sort of familiar with Final Cut Pro edits, which is sort of super iMovie, and then I'm calling it Final Cut Pro.
Yeah.
I don't like it, but I can use it if I have to. But yeah, we'll talk.
It's just for us,
Yeah, I've got iMovie. It comes with the Mac, so I'll punch up. We'll figure it out.
Cool.
Okay. And what do you think of DaVinci? Because I'm thinking
I've been using DaVinci more. I'm impressed by it. There's some things that I've been making notes on that I would like to suggest to the company. Little fixes, add a button here. But yeah, it's and for free for such an amazing piece of software that contains, I guess, about 7 programs in it for compositing and for color and for sound. It's and not to mention editing. It's remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, good. Because that's what I'm trying to switch over to that. I know it's going to take some time.
Great.
But, okay. Well, thanks very much for the opportunity here to speak, and I'll let somebody else take over.
Okay. 3 cheers, Don. Good to see you as always. So, Adam, is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question?
Yes. Our next Mr. Sci-Fi question is, where is it? I lost it here. There we go. Yeah, from the Intergalactic Bakery.
That's great.
Their question says, or they say, I'm currently writing a space story about a very isolated character, and I'm looking for stories about isolated characters for inspiration.
Sure.
Any recommendations?
The Martian. that's the big one. That's just it's Robinson Crusoe on Mars essentially. So it's a really good one.
And where is everybody? That
well, yeah. I mean, if you're
episode?
talking about television, sure, absolutely, yes. And there's, let me think. I'm trying to think of what else would work. Gosh, I'd have to give this some thought. It's I mean, King 9 Will Not Return, which is another Twilight Zone episode about someone stranded in the desert with a crashed B-25 bomber. What else? I'm just going through it in my head. I mean, I'll come up with more down the road. Those are some of the ones off the top of my head. Cool.
Isn't there the Twilight Zone where they were in that glass bubble? And which one?
I don't
That
know.
was pretty isolated. Do you remember that one?
Nope. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're the only one who saw it, Don. It's you never know. It's funny because often when I'm on Coast to Coast, people call remembering either a Twilight Zone episode that isn't a Twilight Zone episode, it's like One Step Beyond or Hitchcock or whatever, or they fell asleep during one episode, woke up during another, and are not aware that it was two different storylines, and in their mind they knitted them together. And they're so sure that they're right, and it's like, oh man, okay,
yeah, maybe
great.
One Step Beyond.
Yeah,
I love that one.
It's possible. It's possible. It was a fun show, and a lot of the same writers wrote on all of those shows. Ray Bradbury wrote for Hitchcock as well as Twilight Zone. Charles Beaumont wrote for One Step Beyond as well as Twilight Zone. So again, and of course, a lot of the writers who wrote for Twilight Zone also wrote for Star Trek and Outer Limits. So there was a lot of cross fertilization on those shows, which was to the benefit of all of them. So great. Well, yay! 3 cheers. Excellent. Okay, did we ask for Mr. Sci-Fi question? I don't remember. Was that the Mr. Sci-Fi question?
That was the Mr. Sci-Fi
So now
question.
it's Elaine, wonderful Elaine, ladies and gentlemen. Great.
Just right now, just gearing up to shoot a framing story.
Yeah,
So
on Space Command.
So getting some last minute notes. We'll continue getting tweaks until the very end, and just trying to schedule and put it all together and get back with the actors. And so that's always extremely it's exhausting and scary, but very energizing when you start to work with a team again.
It's fun.
It's just a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and people come up with last minute things that you never would have thought of if you're open to them. And so you have this. I love working teams. So that's the main thing that's been happening. And I'll be
great.
And it's nice to have these wonderful warm afternoons after these cold mornings at 5 a.m. when you're walking your 2 little terriers.
Cool.
And then you say, yes, but it will be better soon.
Okay.
So all is well.
Great. Yay. 3 cheers, Elaine. Wonderful. Is there another Mr. Sci-Fi question, Adam?
Yes. Let's see. Where? I lost it again. Oh, that's an old one. From Knox 5555.
Great.
Do you two think there is demand for hard sci-fi?
Elaine, what do you think? I don't.
Well,
we should define our terms, huh? Well, go ahead. What are you gonna say, Elaine?
Well, I'm just saying that it's an odd time because of what we seem to need right now, because of the harsh alienation that's happening between peoples in our country. And I think people are reaching out to science fiction for hope and connection. And I think there are other times when the intellectual challenges of hard sci-fi would be more alluring than they are now. I mean, they're very, very smart scientific minds who are drawn to science fiction. So there's always an audience for that. But in terms of like larger audiences, because it's like during the Great Depression, because there's so many pressures from so many different directions that people seem to be, in terms of box office, seeking out something that speaks to that and leaves them less alone in their head.
But we should define our terms, because hard science fiction specifically refers to science fiction that has a strong basis in technology, in real technology, or extrapolated technologies, particularly the space sciences such as physics, astronomy, etc., quantum theory, all that stuff. So the answer is yes. I mean, The Expanse is a perfect example of that. It has really good characters and really interesting stories, but it also is using physics as realistically as a TV show can. 2001, of course, was also hard science fiction in that way. It's easier to have hard science fiction in books than in TV or film, simply because it's just different words. It's just getting your research right. But ultimately, you still have to have a story that's compelling, and you have to have characters you care about. So I just read a book called To Sleep in a Sea of Stars that I've enjoyed very much. And again, it's, hard science, but also some really interesting characters and story turns. So, that's my thought on that. Now it is my turn. It's me, wonderful me. Yay. Happy New Year, everybody. 2022. Here we are. So, a lot is going on, as Elaine said. Greenlighting Yourself is finished. It's at my publishers. They're just waiting to print it and sell it. And I'm very thrilled about that. I was going to be recording the audiobook, so I'll need to talk to my friends who can help me set up an audio thing where I can record it. And I have to contact my publisher about that. Because it'll be the first audiobook that I've read in its entirety that I wrote. I actually did, for my own entertainment, a reading of Sphere by Michael Crichton, the entire novel, which you can hear on Mr. Sci-Fi. But this will be the first time I've read one of my own books in its entirety, although all of the books I've written are on audio, on Audible with other readers. Beyond that, we're finishing the first 2 hours of Space Command. That's moving along well. We're going to be shipping that out in the next few weeks, and then doing the Blu-rays and the DVDs, which is why we're getting all the extras ready, which will be very, very fun. I will breathe a sigh of relief when we have all of this done, as I'm sure will Mr. Augushowitz and Mr. Edison and Mr. Bartlett, etc., and Adam. and as David mentioned, we're sending out a lot of the perks, and that's great and fun to get that out of the way, and it's being done really well. The second issue of Space Command Comics is going to be out very, very soon. Just waiting on me to get my few little things done to get it done. We also have been buying up set pieces from various movies to build the hospital set and some of the other sets we're going to be doing in Space Command. So we've been buying, and David Bartlett and Adam and I and others have been picking these things up and transporting them to our studio. So we just bought a number of items from the movie Ender's Game, a number of items from Falling Skies, a number of items from we're also getting a cryogenic pod from the movie Passengers. Behind me, you can see the spacesuit that I just got from Red Planet that Mike Philpott repaired for me. It's just rocking and rolling. So we're going to be shooting in the next few weeks the hospital scenes that are in the framing story of Forgiveness, our second 2-hour story of Space Command. And then we're going to be shooting the rest of it over the next few months. And it's very exciting, and I'm still posting on Mr. Sci-Fi regularly, and I also am posting on another channel I've created called Mr. Politics. So if you've not seen that, just type in Mr. Politics Mark Zicree, and you'll find it. And I don't post things about it on Mr. Sci-Fi or on The Table because I'm trying to keep those free and clear and non-political. But everyone who knows me knows, of course, that Elaine and I both are liberal, and so I suggest what one can actually do to solve this current problem of polarization in this country. It's pretty simple, but it needs to be done. It absolutely needs to be done. And but so go to Mr. Politics, check that out. Beyond that, in terms of the Showrunners Network, we're going to be building a very, very small and very effective production team for that. And I'm very eager to talk to Arena's friend to find out about that project, because it sounds like ideally, it sounds very much like what we want to do. And so that's great. So beyond that, have I forgotten anything?
I don't think so.
Life is good. Elaine got me some wonderful things for Christmas, including, get a load of this, I'm a huge fan, not just of Star Trek, but of the first pilot of Star Trek, which has Captain Pike. And interestingly enough, I just bought off of eBay, which is wonderful, a copy of, here it is. This is not an original, but it's a copy of the script for the first Star Trek pilot, The Cage, and in which his name is Captain Jim Winter, which I'd never seen before, except at the Star Trek exhibit at the Skirball. And so before Captain Pike, before Captain April, you had Captain Winter. And so I...
but if you're talking about gifts...
Yes? Oh, yes, Elaine, stand up, Elaine, a little bit. Elaine wanted a t-shirt, a sweatshirt that said, "Not a complete idiot," and complete as in... parentheses, so that she's wearing it proudly. Wow. It is, of course, a sweatshirt I never would have gotten Elaine had she not asked for it, because obviously I would get hit with a rolling pin. But
I thought that'd be such a great
not a complete idiot.
Not a complete idiot.
Yes.
And just like our next door friend who he owns this little teeny tiny Chihuahua, with the fluffy Chihuahua that he carries around, and so I made a joke about saying, because he's also into noir, and I said when he goes to these noir conventions that he should wear a sweatshirt that says "Manly Chihuahua Man." And he laughed and he said, "I'd wear that." So now
we got it
owns
for him.
one.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but one of the things I'm getting, because Elaine got it from me for Christmas, it's coming in the mail, is on the original Star Trek, they had a version of the communicator that's very different from the one that was used in the final show. And there's a fan who's making those communicators, and so I'm going to be getting one in the next few days, and I can't wait. It's really, really, really fun. So, so that's the main stuff. So, definitely, if you want to help on Space Command, please do so. And there's going to be a lot of very cool stuff coming up in the next few weeks and months. And thank you all for being part of this. It's much appreciated. And we're here every Thursday at 5:30 Pacific time. And we will see you next time. Stay well, stay safe, and stay with people who value you. And that's it. Talk soon, guys. Bye. Take care. Bye. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, Mr. Sci-Fi friends. Take care. Talk soon.